Hey, um, I am new to live YouTube. I am Paul Looney. I'm a psychiatrist, and I love being loony. I was in residency in Galveston, Texas, in the '80s, and when I was in the psychiatry crisis clinic or in the emergency room, there were times when psychotic patients would see my name tag and kind of freak out, and it was comical, but also a little disturbing. I got slugged once. One patient thought that it wasn't my real name, that he could tell me what my name really was, but didn't want to. Another patient said, Looney, that says it all. You're the crazy one, not me. To the point that I had a couple of my faculty recommend that I seriously consider changing my last name to Smith or Freud, something like that. But of course, I didn't do it. And I figure if you have enough sense of humor to see a shrink, a psychiatrist named Louis, you're bound to get better. So I don't know if anybody is going to find this live stream or if they'll have an interest in it, but I'm hoping that one of my subscribers will be on the air and maybe want to jump on and have a chat. So I'll hang out for probably a couple more minutes and see what happens. In the meantime, I think it's really a great pleasure for me to be able to help people walk through difficult times in my work as a psychiatrist, to help them find meaning in the face of suffering, to help them deal with grief or depression, with anxiety, with obsessive compulsive disorder. Looks like I've got one viewer on. If you want to put in the chat where you're coming from, if you have anything particularly that you want to ask about. So I love being able to walk through those storms in life that can be so difficult and give people a perspective that opens new possibilities for them in their life. Obviously, difficult times are difficult. It's hard to navigate life when we are dealing with betrayal or loss, when we're dealing with illness or frustration. And I think for many of us, it's in those moments when life is so tough that we despair and are tempted to give up on life. And it's particularly satisfying for me when I'm able to help someone find meaning in the face of their mental illness, in the face of their grief or loss or suffering of whatever kind. So if you're watching right now, I'd love for you to send a chat. If you have a particular question about psychiatry, about medication, about faith, feel free to put it in the chat, and love to communicate with you in this live. Um, this is my first live YouTube video, so I don't know what I'm doing. But if you're willing to engage, I'd love to hear from you. My work is so rewarding, as I said earlier, because I do have a chance to be with people in their worst moments. I know a lot of people wonder, like, how do you sit with people day after day in their worst moments, and how do you connect with them in a way that doesn't drain you and leave you depleted? But I think that for me, it is such a privilege to walk with people in those difficult times. It feels like it's holy ground, and such a blessing to be able to be with people in their vulnerable moments when they've kind of lost their way, when they're confused, when they're frustrated or in pain, and to see them go through it and grow through it. We hear a lot about PTSD, or post traumatic stress disorder, but it turns out that the majority of people who go through stress or trauma come out on the other side stronger instead of weaker. Now, PTSD is a very real condition and a huge problem for people who develop it. But for most of us, challenges to us and trauma that we go through actually can bring out our strength, our courage, our compassion. And we do find that people who are able to walk through difficult times come out on the other side with um, a sense of new focus or clarity or growth. I believe it was maybe Friedrich Nietzsche who said, "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger." And although that's not completely true, there are some things that don't make you stronger, that just leave you ravaged. But for most events in life, if we're willing to work through them, if we're willing to process them, and to create a perspective that allows us to extract the good from that experience, what we've learned, what we've gained, and release the pain and the disability, we can come out on the other side feeling better. I know for me, the people that I love the most are people who have gone through difficult times and survived. There's a wonderful book called The Happiness Hypothesis. It's by Jonathan Haidt, who's written some other tremendous books. But in this happiness hypothesis, he looks at all the research about what makes us happy as human beings. And not only does he look at what current research says, but he also talks about wisdom literature. I think I'm having internet problems. Please bear with me. I think I'm back on now. In this chapter, Jonathan Haidt talks about adversity and how we as parents would want to shield our children from pain. But it turns out that if you get to adulthood without having some challenge in your life that's difficult, painful, a struggle, or a source of distress, your ability to develop things like resilience and courage and compassion is sadly undermined. It's kind of like learning a language. If you learn it when you're young, you pick it up much more easily than when you get older. And so, if you haven't had any adversity by the time you're 21 or 25, if the worst thing that happened to you is that you didn't get the car you wanted for graduation, then you're probably going to have a less happy life than someone who has suffered in their youth, in their childhood or young adulthood. So if you're watching right now and you're going through hard times or have gone through hard times, take heart that if you're willing to process your pain, it can make you better and not bitter. It can help you to be that courageous, resilient, and strong person who's able to transform their mess into a message, their pain into a possibility for being the kind of person that is loving and generous and kind. So it's for me such holy ground, such a great place to be with someone as they traverse those difficult passages, and even looking back on things that were hugely difficult or traumatic. It's such a gift for me to be able to walk alongside as they reconnect with their pain. I know it sounds funny that I would say that, but it's in reconnecting with our pain that we can access those parts of our brain that were wired in a dysfunctional way, where we made judgments about ourselves, about our value, about our worth. We made judgments about other people and about their trustworthiness or whether they will be there for us. And in going back into that pain, we can rewire our brain. We can choose to think differently about what happened to us and realize that the meaning that we extracted from it as children is probably not the best thing. As an example, if a child is slapped by their mother, which should never happen, no matter what you've done, being hit in the face by a parent should never happen. Well, for that child, one of the most adaptive ways to think about that is to blame yourself. Why is that? Well, if I live in a world where terrible things can happen without me deserving them, the world seems much less safe. If I can tell myself, well, mommy wouldn't have hit me if I wasn't being bad, then I can find comfort in that, because it still gives me a sense of control. Like if I behave well, then I can avoid being slapped. But the trade-off, of course, is that it undermines my sense of value, and it actually gives me an opportunity to take responsibility for something that is not mine to take on. And that's what happens with many people who are abused. They imagine that somehow it was their fault. And as a child, that again may be adaptive, but it actually is very damaging as one gets older. What we have to do eventually, if we've been hit hard by trauma or disability, is to revisit it in a way that allows us to put a context on it that helps us to see it more realistically and more um, in a more mature way, so that we can see the value that can come from that, even if the value is just the determination not to treat people the way that I was treated, which is a very powerful motivator. um, if you receive some really bad parenting, then if you become a parent, that experience can forewarn you and really transform your own parenting style based on your desire to avoid the thing that made you so traumatized and so pain. If you're watching and you have a question or a comment, please put it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to share a few more thoughts about the work that I do with people. I kind of think of myself like a kidney cell in the body, where the kidney cells extract the trash from the bloodstream, and then uh, add some fluid and allow it to be released from the body. And so the only way that I can really afford to be with someone and receive their grief, to be with them in an empathic way where I join them in their suffering, is to know that I can offload that pain. For me, it has to do with entrusting that person to God's care, because as much as I would love to fix them or make them better, as much as I would love to help them to grow, um, or to have relief and to grow beyond their suffering, I can't I can't make that happen. It's ultimately their decision, is how they're going to um, redefine this event and not let it be their identity, but rather their history. What happens for many of us is we let the events of our life give us a sense of who we are. And we have to periodically look back and see, was that event something that really does reflect my character and my identity? Or was it simply something that happened to me that allowed me to grow into my character and identity? And it's really gratifying when you see that happen. So looks like I'm about at 15 minutes, and this was just a trial. Um, if you're watching and want to make a comment, if you think this is useful, give it a thumbs up. If not, I may try again another day just to see if live streaming is something that will help the people that are subscribing to my channel. Um, Whoever you are out there, enjoy your day or your evening wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining me, and I'm Dr. Paul. I'm your Looney Psychiatrist. Hope you'll subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And also, oh, Susie Bird, nice. Well, thank you for the comment. That makes me happy. It's my first live stream comment, and I'm thrilled. So if you have anything that you want to ask or say, please put it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm gonna call it a night. And thank you for watching, Susie Bird, wherever you are. Have a good one. Bye bye.